Melody Anderson will forever be known to me as Dale Arden from that campy yet classic 1980 science fiction movie Flash Gordon. Even now, just looking at this picture of Melody as Dale, it's hard for me not to hear Freddie Mercury singing, "Flash, ah, savior of the universe." I'm sorry, I promise no more singing in this video. December 1980 was a pretty good month for me as a movie geek in training. If I remember correctly, we not only had the release of Flash Gordon, but also of interest to me was the Robin Williams version of Popeye. Yeah, I know, very different genres, but both Flash and Popeye started out as comic strip characters, and so I was super excited for both. And while there are those who feel the need to critique the performances of the actors in Flash Gordon, I ask, why would you? Sure, Sam J. Jones, Topol, Ornella Moody, Max von Sydow, Timothy Dalton, and this lovely lady, Melody Anderson. Yeah, they were playing comic book characters, but they played their roles exactly the way they were supposed to be played, with a ton of heart. And while no one, not even von Sydow, was going to be considered for an Oscar for their work in this film, they all gave 110%, especially Anderson. Even though she had a bit of TV work behind her before Flash Gordon, this was the moment that she became part of pop culture for the eternities, as well as the object of affection for many teenage boys. And while I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about Anderson's work post-Flash Gordon, let's just say it was substantial. Lots of guest appearances on many of the major TV shows of the 80s, and a full-on co-starring gig on Manimal. I'm going to have to make a video about Manimal one of these days. Why that Glenn A. Larson show didn't last longer, I will never know. And yes, Melody is playing with a snake there. I've also got to mention Melody's TV movie Policewoman Centerfold. The headlines read, "Based on a true story." This really felt like something that I needed to see. But in an era where VCRs were just starting to hit the marketplace and were dang expensive, the only way I was going to see it was during the actual live broadcast, something that I knew wasn't going to happen in my fairly strict home. Years later, I finally got around to seeing it. At that point, it was more of a shoulder shrug than anything else for me. Still, Anderson was very good. She seemed to relish the role of a divorced police officer who was fired after making the decision to pose for a men's magazine. Come to think of it, Anderson's performances across the board were solid. She had something that a lot of aspiring actresses simply don't have enough of. Some folks call it star quality, others just chalk it up to charisma. Either way, she was always fun to watch. Melody continued to find steady work until the mid-90s. One of her final roles was that of Marilyn Monroe in 1993's biopic Marilyn and Bobby. And then in 1995, Melody made a decision that would change her life and the lives of others forever. The impetus for the career change was a combination of Melody's father's struggles with alcoholism along with her own participation in Al-Anon. As she became more involved in that program, it became clear that she truly loved helping others. So she went back to school, and a couple years later, in 1997, Anderson graduated from NYU with a master's degree in social work. Over the years, Melody has become highly respected in her field where she counsels individuals, families, and couples who are struggling with a variety of issues, especially those that deal with trauma and addiction. And even though Melody has moved on from the entertainment industry, that doesn't mean that she's forgotten her fans. No way. She still takes time to hit comic and movie conventions from time to time. Here she is pictured with her Flash Gordon co-star Sam J. Jones. Speaking of Sam, Melody has said that if Ted 3 ever gets made, she would love an opportunity to be in that film with Sam. So that's it. What do you think? Were you a fan of Flash Gordon, and in particular Melody Anderson? Let me know in the comments section below. And while you're at it, I would appreciate it if you would click on the thumbs up icon and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most of all, and as always, thank you so much for watching.